page are we on?
We are on chapter 24, section 6. It's page 511 in my book, Salvation from Fear. I'll go ahead and share my screen. I always read it from a website called A Course in Miracles Now. It's just, I know there's other ones out there and people have shared other ones with me. So whatever works for you. All right. A Course in Miracles, chapter 24, Salvation from Fear. Before your brother's holiness, the world is still, and peace descends on it in gentleness and blessing, so complete that not one trace of conflict still remains to haunt you in the darkness of the night. He is your savior from the dreams of fear. He is the healing of your sense of sacrifice and fear that what you have will scatter with the wind and turn to dust. In him is your assurance God is here and with you now. While he is what he is, you can be sure that God is knowable and will be known to you. For he could never leave his own creation, and the sign that this is so lies in your brother. Offered you that all your doubts about yourself may disappear before his holiness. See in him God's creation, for in him his Father waits for your acknowledgement that he created you as part of him. Without you, there would be a lack in God, a heaven incomplete, a son without a father. There could be no universe and no reality. For what God wills is whole and part of him because his will is one. Nothing alive that is not part of him, and nothing is but is alive in him. And nothing is but is alive in him. Your brother's holiness shows you that God is one with him and you. That what he has is yours because you are not separate from him, nor from his Father. Nothing is lost to you in all the universe. Nothing that God created has he failed to lay before you lovingly as yours forever. And no thought within his mind is absent from your own. It is his will you share, his love for you. And look upon yourself as lovingly as he conceived of you before the world began, and as he knows you still. God changes not his mind about his Son with passing circumstance, which has no meaning in eternity where he abides, and you with him. Your brother is as he created him, and it is this that saves you from a world that he created not. Forget not that the healing of God's Son is all the world is for. That is the only purpose the Holy Spirit sees in it, and thus the only one it has. Until you see the healing of the Son as all you wish to be accomplished by the world, by time, and all appearances, you will not know the Father, nor yourself. For you will use the world for what is not its purpose, and will not escape its laws of violence and death. Yet it is given you to be beyond its laws in all respects, in every way and every circumstance, in all temptation, to perceive what is not there, and all belief God's Son can suffer pain because he sees himself as he is not. Look on your brother and behold in him the whole reversal of the laws that seem to rule this world. See in his freedom yours, for such it is. Let not his specialness obscure the truth in him, for not one law of death you bind him to will you escape, and not one sin you see in him, but keeps you both in hell. Yet will his perfect sinlessness release you both, For holiness is quite impartial, with one judgment made for all it looks upon. And that is made not of itself, but through the voice that speaks for God in everything that lives and shares his being. It is his sinlessness that eyes that see can look upon. It is his loveliness they see in everything. And it is he they look for everywhere and find no sight, nor place, nor time where he is not. Within your brother's holiness, the perfect frame for your salvation and the world's, is set the shining memory of him in whom your brother lives, and you along with him. Let not your eyes be blinded by the veil of specialness that hides the face of Christ from him, and you as well. And let the fear of God no longer hold the vision you were meant to see from you. Your brother's body shows not Christ to you. He is set forth within his holiness. Choose then his body or his holiness as what you want to see, and which you choose is yours to look upon. Yet will you choose in countless situations and through time that seems to have no end, until the truth be your decision. For eternity is not regained by still one more denial of Christ in him. And where is your salvation if he is but a body? Where is your peace but in his holiness? And where is God himself but in that part of him he set forever in your brother's holiness, that you might see the truth about yourself, set forth at last in terms you recognized and understood. Your brother's holiness is sacrament and benediction unto you. His errors cannot withhold God's blessing from himself, nor you who see him truly. His mistakes can cause delay, which it is given you to take from him, that both may end a journey that is never begun and needs no end. What never was is not a part of you, yet you will think it is until you realize that it is not a part of him who stands beside you. He is the mirror of yourself, wherein you see the judgment you have laid on both of you. The Christ in you beholds his holiness. Your specialness looks on his body and beholds him not. See him as what he is, that your deliverance may not be long. A senseless wandering without a purpose and without accomplishment of any kind is all the other choice can offer you. Futility of function not fulfilled will haunt you while your brother lies asleep, till what has been assigned to you is done and he is risen from the past. He who condemned himself, and you as well, is given you to save from condemnation along with you. And both shall see God's glory in his Son, whom you mistook as flesh and bound to laws that have no power over him at all. Would you not gladly realize these laws are not for you? Then see him not as prisoner to them. It cannot be what governs part of God holds not for all the rest. You place yourself under the laws you see as ruling him. Think then how great the love of God for you must be, that he has given you a part of him to save from pain and give you happiness. And never doubt but that your specialness will disappear before the will of God, who loves each part of him with equal love and care. The Christ in you can see your brother truly. Would you decide against the holiness he sees? Specialness is the function that you gave yourself. It stands for you alone as self-created, self-maintained, in need of nothing, and unjoined with anything beyond the body. In its eyes, you are a separate universe with all the power to hold itself complete within itself, with every entry shut against intrusion, and every window barred against the light. Always attacked and always furious, with anger always fully justified. You have pursued this goal with vigilance you never thought to yield, and effort that you never thought to cease. And all this grim determination was for this. You wanted specialness to be the truth. Now you are merely asked that you pursue another goal with far less vigilance, with little effort, and with little time, and with the power of God maintaining it and promising success. Yet of the two, it is this one you find more difficult. The sacrifice of self, you understand, nor do you deem this cost too heavy, but a tiny willingness, a nod to God, a greeting to the Christ in you, you find a burden, wearisome and tedious, too heavy to be borne. Yet to the dedication to the truth as God established it, no sacrifice is asked, no strain called forth, and all the power of heaven and the might of truth itself is given to provide the means and guarantee the goal's accomplishment. You who believe it easier to see your brother's body than his holiness, be sure you understand what made this judgment. Here is the voice of specialness heard clearly, judging against the Christ and setting forth for you the purpose that you can attain and what you cannot do. Forget not that this judgment must apply to what you do with it as your ally. For what you do through Christ, it does not know. To him, this judgment makes no sense at all, for only what his Father wills is possible, and there is no alternative for him to see. Out of his lack of conflict comes your peace, and from his purpose comes the means for effortless accomplishment and rest. Hey, Tim, good to have you here.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, that was rather depressing.
Well, it was actually interesting because we've been talking about the fear of socializing and judgment and what like you think other people are judging you to be, and it all goes back to this. You're choosing to see your brother as a body instead of seeing the Christ in him. And when you see him as a body, then the ego starts thinking, oh, I'm more special than he is, and he's more special than I am, and how do I get more special? And so it's interesting.
It all started with the pandemic because we were in isolation from our brothers and sisters.
Right.
And that was what triggered that whole, thing about you can't be next to your brother because he's going to infect you and kill you.
Right. That's right. That's exactly right, Ernesto. That's exactly right.
And trying to get away from that mindset.
Right.
What is the percentage? Did you ever get a number on the percentage of people that are still hunkered down?
Not because of the pandemic, but I think it was a big percentage. I don't like to quote things if I don't have the actual number in front of me. But yeah, next time I'll try to do a little bit of research before that, because it was really interesting at the number of people who are just, afraid to put themselves out there. And again, It goes back to fear of death, fear of all of these things, fear of judgment, not good enough, fear of losing my specialness.
A couple of days ago, they released the numbers about suicide hotline that they just changed to a 3-digit code rather than a full, and it's like up 1,200% since the pandemic, or from the start of the pandemic.
Yeah, I believe it.
There's so much fear still. And I think that it not only was surrounding the pandemic, but now that it seems that the crisis part of the pandemic is easing, I look around and I still see people just, they almost have a look of fear on their face. And just for an example, yesterday I went up to Colorscape in Norwich. It's an arts festival that Carl used to have a booth at, and we met some friends up there. And so anyway, long story, it's an outdoor open air event. And there were people walking around outside with masks on,
Ah,
avoiding others. And it just, that was one of my passing thoughts. I was like, oh, I had such compassion, thinking, and you're so fearful that you still think that that's what you need to do to protect yourself. People have to do what they have to do. But I'm like, if only you knew that, if only you knew that you didn't have to do that, you know?
Yeah, and
Well,
I think also people have other reasons for doing that you might not be aware of. They might have,
Absolutely.
immune compromisation. They
They
might.
had it before the pandemic, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? So,
Right.
you know,
Look at Japan. They've been wearing masks like that for 20 years because of the air quality, and they
Quality.
still do it. And it's had nothing to do with the pandemic.
Right.
It has to do with air quality or their own fears and hiding behind things. That's why they wear masks.
oops,
yes, yes, and yes.
guys, I gotta mute myself.
When I this past weekend, I went to the Syracuse State Fair, which has a ton of people. And
All right, are you there, Zoe?
are we on?
Yeah, we're here. I just had to mute Alicia. She couldn't figure out how to do it, so I did it for her.
So even if me, who has broken my kind of protocol, because I'm one of those people that still feel like I'm hunkered down, even though I've been going, shopping all along. I'm the one that did all the shopping here when my son was with me. And I went to the Syracuse Fair, and when I came across a situation where there was a lot of people, I was uncomfortable, and I wanted to get the heck out of there quick and then there were people wearing masks, but very few. But I kept saying to myself, like, you chose to come here, chill out, dude. So I stayed there for a while I got food and order, and then I went to where there's less people, because there were some sections where there wasn't that many people.
Right.
But all I could think about is how much that fear is still with me.
Mhm.
That's why I have to laugh when you all brought up the whole pandemic thing, and I was interested in knowing what that number is, because I am sure that I could be a little germophobic, but not like my sister, where she holds her breath and her saliva while she goes visit anybody at the hospital. Anyway, this is the reality of where we live.
Mhm.
And can we trust our brothers and sisters not to infect us? Right? As the course says, we're all brothers and sisters, we're all holy childs of God.
Yeah.
That means that if you maintain that mindset, can you even avoid being sick? Or, who knows? It is so, I don't even know what the word to say, but it's so on point about the times that we're living and
Mhm.
trying to understand all of it.
Right.
And, and trying to live by what the course says,
Mhm.
which can be challenging, especially during these times.
Yep. But again, it goes back to, you can always choose to see the Christ in your brother, with or without a mask. Whether they're wearing a mask or you're wearing a mask, you can make that conscious choice to see the Christ in your brother and not see the body.
Right.
Right. And I think that's the practice.
It's a practice, not become judgmental, right, of it. Because
Right.
like you said, they could be wearing it for their own personal reasons.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So, any
Why
other?
would we figure out anything from all that data out there? If you look at the data out there, alcohol, drugs, suicide, mental health issues has increased for 10 years at least, every year.
Right. Sure.
Pandemic even more so. But what does it mean? Nothing, really, nothing. It means nothing. It means people are not able to deal with and reconcile and make sense of what the world's about. And if you don't find yourself within yourself, then you can't leave that behind. It's not possible. All I have to look at is what's happening in the world outside myself. I'd probably be mentally ill, probably be suffering from more psychosocial problems, and probably I would feel like it's all your fault.
That's true.
And that's how people see the world, because it is like that. So it's worse than we see it. It's that, I don't know if you understand that either, but people don't know how bad it really is, and they don't really want to hear about it either. But on the other hand, they want to believe that they're suffering more than anybody else is suffering if they're suffering. So that makes sense to them until you point it out. Maybe it doesn't make sense then, but there's an opportunity somewhere in that suffering to see, I don't want to suffer anymore. To realize I don't want to suffer anymore, then I start to see, I don't know how to not do that. I need help not doing that. And that's a wonderful place, really. That's an extraordinary, wonderful place for
And Eric, that sets me up for what I want to bring back to what he's saying here, because he's getting into this is extremely subtle, and I think we all realize that. It could be that the very least thing, the very least criticism of a brother or sister that, I don't even want to draw anything there. It's the fact that we see them, we see each of us separate as bodies, that we identify as like, that's the ultimate truth. Through that experience I've shared so many times with you all that I had so long ago, bodies in that were completely incidental. I'm trying to think of oh God, it was like they were just simply the vehicle to get me around, to get my friends around. And I didn't care for those 3 days what we ate or anything. I've told you before, I had a memory, we had a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts that had absolutely no effect on us. Try that now and see what happens. So the point here, the closure is that until we reach the words inner strain are coming to me, until the strain is so tough, most of us won't make any kind of permanent shift or semi-permanent, or have enough significant change where we go, that was it. That's where I'm going to get back there somehow. I'm going to give up all this other useless stuff, and I'll get back there. He's trying in these pages, these thousands of pages, to get us to see that in his 1,000 different arguments. And until we get glimpses, and I'm not saying that everybody hasn't, but that's the essence of this. We can talk about the world conditions infinitum. There's always been world conditions, and there always will be. It's getting past that to where you see the life is within you, and that life extends everywhere, and there's no distinction. There's no, you would not even consider separating from what's around you, because then you would stop that life. And that's about, I appreciate those words wherever they came from, because I'm dipping back into that now. So there's no secret formula. There is a complete dedication to say enough of this junk. I'm done with this. I don't want to argue my point anymore. I don't want to, which in about 2 hours I'll probably be doing again. So I'm going to be self-deprecating. Anyway, I need to shut up and let you guys talk about that.
That was awesome, Tim. I really, really loved that share. That was really, really well said. And exactly what I was listening to on that podcast this morning with Byron Katie, because she was saying that in that moment when she came out of that deep, dark state of depression that she was in, like you were describing, until you get to that moment of complete surrender. She heard something, and when she opened her eyes, there was a cockroach crawling over her. And she didn't go, oh my God, it's a cockroach, because she didn't identify with a body. She didn't even see the cockroach as a separate thing. She just saw it as this creature that was not even separate from her. And then she said she noticed there was light in the room. And it wasn't even until she saw where the light was coming from and saw that there was a window that she started putting words and ideas into what was happening around her. And, that obviously that changed her experience about everything. And she said now she goes on the subway, and she said that she's in this life school, and she looks around at everything and everybody with absolute joy. Doesn't matter what they're wearing, doesn't matter what they're doing. She's just so grateful to be alive and part of this. She calls it the deliciousness of life, right? Because she's got no judgment. She sees the Christ in all her brothers. She doesn't judge. She doesn't condemn. She's not pointing out differences. She's just absorbing and sharing and being.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Yeah, I guess the question comes down to, am I willing, once you're in that state, or you have a very strong memory and you can go back into it, is like, what is there out there that would tempt me enough to leave this? And this picture of Ramana Maharshi up here, they on my cabinet door, they asked him, he says, Ramana, you have this cancer, you have the power to heal it. And as I've told you, I'm pretty sure this group before, he said, well, to do that, I would have to leave this state of consciousness that I'm always in to heal this thing that I'm really not, that you all worship. He didn't probably say that, but what a statement. And then Al-Hallaj, one of the Islamic mystics, when his son came to visit him in prison many centuries ago, he talked about this oneness with God. I mean, he's in a cell, and he was speaking loudly, and his son said, Father, do not speak like this. Do you know that they would kill you? And he basically said what Christ said, that they have no power over me. I'm not going to separate from this continuous state of communion, or whatever you want to call that, to protect this body. But how many of us could, it's sort of inconceivable that we would have that. But that's what he's talking about here. That's what, I love the statement here, a nod to God. I mean, he's got a little humor there too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, enough for that.
All right.
So this section is very important that way to see. I don't want to look at my brother and judge him by what he appears to be, because as he appears to be, he may not be. I don't really know that, because we're keeping this thing private from each other to begin with. So what's going on in my privacy? It's not really important, actually.
We're going power to make decisions on our own in the room.
Everything's going on in my privacy is unknown to me also, because it originates someplace other than in me. And so it's of no importance to me, really. And I think that thing that you said about Ramana Maharshi probably translates into something like that. Was of no great importance to him.
Yeah. He didn't value his body. He literally, when they found him,
Private from himself, even so.
Yeah, they built this temple around him. He just wanted to die. He was not eating, drinking anything. He just wanted to
Did he want to die, or did he want to continue to state?
Yeah, yeah, he wanted to be free in this state all the time, and they built the temple of Arantula basically around it. So,
So they still wanted him to be special.
yeah, yeah. Come save us.
Well, the special function of the Holy Spirit is also considered special. So I don't know, if I want to be special, then I should put my sight on the special function of the Holy Spirit to see through everything that isn't real. That would be helpful.
Yeah, yeah,
especially anyway.
yeah. If I could only remember that.
Didn't Alicia want to say something? I thought she was saying something before.
Yeah, I had a thing last night with my son here. It's all over one of our cats that I'm having to administer this oral medication to, and and I was fine the first time, and the second time she was just all jumpy, so she sprung out. Our male cat went after her. I didn't realize that, and then my son was like, "Oh, you've got that medication on her, and why is she all wet?" I said, "Michael, I was not able to administer it anyway." Now we're in this big quandary about whether to go get a shot or continue trying to do this. And, and I found, and my wife pointed out that, when he's speaking to me about his concerns, that I'm rebutting what he's saying before he can even complete a sentence, which is what my mother used to do to me. And then if I pointed out, she'd say, "Son, I already know what you're going to say before you say it." Well, I think we have to step back, was what my wife is saying. Just listen, just be quiet, just hear his side. It's not like you're going to forget what you were going to say and slide into some kind of a, you know what I'm saying. So it's those things. It's the emotionally charged things, I think, that most bring us to this ego defense of our point of view. I've got all this education, I've got all this experience, by God, I'm going to use it. Mm,
Goes back to letting go, right? Just letting go.
yes, yeah.
Well, shall we continue at the meeting place? Okay, the meeting place. How bitterly does everyone tied to this world defend the specialness he wants to be the truth? His wish is law to him, and he obeys. Nothing his specialness demands does he withhold. Nothing it needs does he deny to what he loves. And while it calls to him, he hears no other voice. No effort is too great, no cost too much, no price too dear to save his specialness from the least slight, the tiniest attack, the whispered doubt, the hint of threat, or anything but deepest reverence. This is your son, beloved of you, as you are to your father. Yet it stands in place of your creations, who are son to you, that you might share the fatherhood of God, not snatch it from him. What is this son that you have made by your strength? What is this child of earth on whom such love is lavished? What is this parody of God's creation that takes the place of yours? And where are they now? Where are they now that the host of God has found another son whom he prefers to them? The memory of God shines not alone. What is within your brother still contains all of creation, everything created and creating, born and unborn as yet, still in the future or apparently gone by. What is in him is changeless, and your changelessness is recognized in its acknowledgement. The holiness in you belongs to him. and by your seeing it in him, returns to you. All of the tribute you have given specialness belongs to him, and thus returns to you. All of the love and care, the strong protection, the thought by day and night, the deep concern, the powerful conviction, this is you, belong to him. Nothing you gave to specialness, but is his due. And nothing due him is not due to you. How can you know your worth while specialness claims you instead? How can you fail to know it in his holiness? Seek not to make your specialness the truth, for if it were, you would be lost indeed. Be thankful, rather, it is given you to see his holiness because it is the truth. And what is true in him must be as true in you. Ask yourself this: can you protect the mind? The body, yes, a little, not from time, but temporarily. And much you think you save, you hurt. What would you save it for? For in that choice lie both its health and harm. Save it for show, as bait to catch another fish, to house your specialness in better style, or weave a frame of loveliness around your hate, and you condemn it to decay and death. And if you see this purpose in your brothers, such is your condemnation of your own. Weave rather than a frame of holiness around him, that the truth may shine on him and give you safety from decay. The Father keeps what he created safe. You cannot touch it with the false ideas you made, because it was created not by you. Let not your foolish fancies frighten you. What is immortal cannot be attacked. What is but temporal has no effect. Only the purpose that you see in it has meaning. And if that is true, its safety rests secure. If not, it has no purpose and is means for nothing. Whatever is perceived as means for truth shares in its holiness and rests in light as safety as itself. Nor will that light go out when it is gone. Its holy purpose gave it immortality, setting another light in heaven, where your creations recognize a gift from you, a sign that you have not forgotten them. The test of everything on earth is simply this: what is it for? The answer makes it what it is for you. It has no meaning of itself, yet you can give reality to it according to the purpose that you serve. Here you are but means along with it. God is a means as well as end. In heaven, means and end are one, and one with him. This is the state of true creation, found not within time, but in eternity. No one here is this describable, nor is there any way to learn what this condition means. Not till you go past learning to the given. Not till you make again a holy home for your creations is it understood. A co-creator with the Father must have a son. Yet must this son have been created like himself, a perfect being, all-encompassing and all-encompassed, nothing to add and nothing taken from, not born of size nor place nor time, nor held to limits or uncertainties of any kind. Here do the means and end unite as one. Nor does this one have any end at all. All this is true, and yet it has no meaning to anyone who still retains one unlearned lesson in his memory, one thought with purpose still uncertain, or one wish with a divided aim. This course makes no attempt to teach what cannot easily be learned. Its scope does not exceed your own, except to say that what is yours will come to you when you are ready. Here are the means and the purpose separate because they were so made and so perceived. And therefore do we deal with them as if they were. It is essential to be kept in mind that all perception still is upside down until its purpose has been understood. Perception does not seem to be a means. And it is this that makes it hard to grasp the whole extent to which it must depend on what you see it for. Perception seems to teach you what you see, yet it but witnesses to what you taught. It is the outward picture of a wish and an image that you wanted to be true. Look at yourself and you will see a body. Look at this body in a different light and it looks different. And without a light, it seems that it is gone. Yet you are reassured that it is there because you still can feel it with your hands and hear it move. Here is an image that you want to be yourself. It is the means to make your wish come true. It gives the eyes to which you look on it, the hands that feel it, and the ears with which you listen to the sounds it makes. It proves its own reality to you. Thus is the body made a theory of yourself, with no provisions made for evidence beyond itself, and no escape within its sight. Its course is sure when seen through its own eyes. It grows and withers, flourishes and dies, and you cannot conceive of you apart from it. You brand it sinful, and you hate its acts, judging it evil. Yet your specialness whispers, "Here is my own beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." Thus does the Son become the means to serve his Father's purpose. Not identical, not even like, but still a means to offer to the Father what he wants. Such is the travesty on God's creation. For as his Son's creation gave him joy and witness to his love and shared his purpose, so does the body testify to the idea that made it and speak for its reality and truth. And thus are two sons made. And both appear to walk this earth without a meeting place and no encounter. One do you perceive outside yourself, your own beloved Son. The other rests within, his Father's Son, within your brother as he is in you. Their difference does not lie in how they look, nor where they go, nor even what they do. They have a different purpose. It is this that joins them to their like and separates each from all aspects with a different purpose. The Son of God retains his Father's will. The Son of Man perceives an alien will and wishes it were so. And thus does his perception serve his wish by giving it appearances of truth. Yet can perception serve another goal? It is not bound to specialness, but by your choice. And it is given you to make a different choice and use perception for a different purpose. And what you see will serve that purpose well and prove its own reality to you.
A lot of food for thought in that one.
Yes, there sure was.
Mhm.
There sure was. Really makes you question how much you emphasize the body versus the Christ in you, right? And that it's a choice, and that's what it said right at the end. And it is, and what you see will serve the purpose well and prove its own reality to you. Just a different choice. It is given you to make a different choice.
Yeah.
And it kind of begs the question, like, how on earth do you actually do that when the illusion is so vivid, you know? And then it just comes back to the simplicity of making a choice. But yet, for me, over and over and over, I resist that choice because although I think, okay, yeah, this makes a lot of sense in the teachings of the course, to live it is an entirely different animal. And so as I'm listening to this, when you see the Christ in the other and they had no sin and other, okay, fine, but how do you do that? How do you do that? Okay, so it's just a simple choice. But to get to that choice, for me, where it's believable, but is it believable? And it's the head and the heart on the same page, and still get stuck and hung up on the other person being the body, or this person did me dirty, or judging another person's appearance, or
Yeah.
at this festival yesterday, there was this person sitting in a chair listening to the music. And this, again, talk about judgment and appearances and the body. And this person had a long braid with a scrunchie and a lovely manicure, and was a little heavy set. And a full beard. And I thought, and I was like, oh my God, what? And then it brought me back to, you can't judge anything, a book by the cover. That for me was an excellent lesson in just seeing a person not for the outward appearances. It made me think about that. But in that moment, when I first saw this person, it was very, very easy for me to go to my default setting and judge, like, what the heck? Oh, wait a minute. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and the interesting thing about that, Alicia, is what I think we read in the last section was, you are seeing that person and judging that person for something that you feel about yourself, right? So
but that I can't identify with that either. It's the same thing with saying, if you think of a person that supposedly did you dirty and you're really attacking yourself, I really can't register that, because there's absolutely nothing about myself that I can truly say that I identify with that particular part of that person. So there's where I get, I have difficulty in learning that particular lesson of the course. What on earth would there be about this particular individual that I would see as a reflection of myself? Because the only thing that I can see is completely divergent ways to choose to live whatever lifestyle you have. And I personally can in no way identify with their choices. That's just where I'm at.
right. So I guess the question would be, when you look at that person, how does it make you feel?
I don't know as I necessarily felt anything one way or the other, than maybe a wave of compassion in that, the gender identity crisis, or it's really got to be difficult to live in this world of duality, perhaps not knowing, maybe not where you fit in or what you identify with, or I don't know. But I can honestly tell you that, once I got over that, oh my God, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I didn't really I felt quite neutral about the whole thing,
Yeah.
which for me is a step in the right direction, because it really would be easy for me, again, to go to that default setting of judging, like, oh my God, what am I looking at? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because usually that goes back to some kind of a fear in yourself. Like, I'm afraid that I'm not good enough. I'm afraid that I'm not worthy. I'm afraid that I'm not whatever it is, because you see in that person, oh my God, how can you show up like that? Because that is triggering my fear of not being accepted, or my fear of not being loved or lovable or worthy, because, oh my God, how could you put yourself out there like that, in that state where, you're exposing yourself to being judged, to being unlovable, to being unworthy. And so it's all of a reflection of those inner fears, right?
Yeah,
Of,
that's true. I see that. I see
Yeah.
how that could be the case. Yes.
right. So, many times what we project out is, again, this is what we're talking about today, is that's your brother. And that is a gift to you, that your brother is showing up like that for you, so that you can then embrace that part of yourself
That needs healing.
that maybe you were judging unworthy or unlovable. And in doing so, you are extending that acceptance and brotherhood and love to your brother, and seeing them as the Christ instead of as a separate body, right? It's
Yeah.
all the undoing. It's all the forgiveness. It's all the, God saying, I'm giving you my brother. I'm giving you my brother to love, with that ponytail and the beard. And I'm giving that to you as a gift. Love my brother as yourself. And you can both, know me in that moment of love and acceptance.
Yeah, there is a part of us that needs healing that we're not seeing until we see our brother as holy, because instead we're being judgmental.
Yep.
Yeah.
Point on this, dude. I was just going to say something along the same lines, that codependency or that dysfunction or the dysregulation or whatever has an opposite side to it. But I won't see the truth just because I see that there's an opposite side to it. So your codependency, if you see things outside yourself that tells you something has to change outside yourself, is wrong. But so is the idea that you have to change within to see that as different. Because it isn't that you see something as different, it's that you see only the truth instead. So the truth instead is not what codependency is about. The special function of the Holy Spirit to see through that is helpful. And when I recognize I can see through it instead of identifying with one side or the other, then in fact, I can see that holy instant, and the truth then doesn't change, and I'm peaceful again. So when I say I want to return to peace, I say, what am I really saying? I'm really saying I don't want to have to think about what I see outside myself as though there's something wrong with it. If I do that, then I need to find something right within myself to oppose that. And then I find myself looking for this in the world instead of seeing through what seems to be appearing to be changing outside myself, to realize if I look in the mirror, I'll see that about myself also. If I look in the mirror long enough, I'll see myself fluctuating. I'll see all kinds of mutations occurring as I look at myself in the mirror. And I'll see, well, that's what's happening. My unconscious is showing me constantly change to keep up with what seems to be happening outside of myself. I don't have to keep up with what's happening outside myself. I have to be calm and peaceful and look within myself to see that doesn't have to fluctuate. It doesn't have to be crazy like that.
And, all this discussion reminds me that it's so good to do the lessons over and over and over again, right? Because that's it. That's the experiential moment of being able to bring the lesson out into the world with us. And that's how the change happens.
Yeah, that's, I'm glad you brought it up. I'm currently on lesson 309, and it's exactly, Eric, what you were talking about. The title is "I Will Not Fear to Look Within Today." And, anybody, you can go to that and read it, but yeah, it's what you're saying. It really is. So anyway.
We're getting ready to start a new chapter. I can read the introduction because I think it still pertains to everything we've been talking about, unless somebody wants to share something else before I go on. It's just 3 paragraphs. All right, let's do that. We will start chapter 25, The Justice of God, the introduction. The Christ in you inhabits not a body, yet he is in you. And thus it must be that you are not within a body. What is within you cannot be outside. And it is certain that you cannot be apart from what is at the very center of your life. What gives you life cannot be housed in death. No more can you. Christ is within a frame of holiness, whose only purpose is that he may be made manifest to those who know him not, that he may call to them to come to him and see him where they thought their bodies were. Then will their bodies melt away, that they may frame his holiness in them. No one who carries Christ in him can fail to recognize him everywhere, except in bodies. As long as he believes he is in a body where he thinks he is, he cannot be. And so he carries him unknowingly and does not make him manifest. And thus he does not recognize him where he is. The Son of Man is not the risen Christ. Yet does the Son of God abide exactly where he is and walks with him within his holiness, as plain to see as if his specialness set forth within his body. The body needs no healing, but the mind that thinks it is a body is sick indeed. And it is here that Christ sets forth the remedy. His purpose folds the body in his light and fills it with the holiness that shines from him. And nothing that the body says or does but makes him manifest. To those who know him not, it carries him in gentleness and love to heal their minds. Such is the mission that your brother has for you, and such it must be that your mission is for him. I feel like that just summed up everything we read today. That's our task for this next week. Try to make the Christ manifest in the mind, right? And see your brother, see the Christ in your brother. It's a good goal for the week.
So it is the mind that needs the healing?
I think it's a choice, right? It's just a choice to see the Christ in your brother. And then the healing is an after effect.
It works right.
Right?
From that, yes.
From
Yes.
that.
So joining is your choice. So you see the choice always. It's either I choose to be upset, frustrated, bitter, resentful, in love just for now or whatever. I have my moment, and my moment is all I really need. This is wrong. It's not really true. But now is now, but I need more than now. I need that union also with the spirit. I need union as well as the moment of now. So I can be present without identifying with the outside world in such a way as that I feel only the presence through whatever's happening outside the world. Then I'm in my mind. My mind can be right then, and it can join with the Holy Spirit. So the wrong mind is the mind that makes the world outside myself out of ones and zeros and gaps. And the inner mind, the peaceful mind, is the one that sees there's no ones and zeros, and the gap is now gone. So I see the Holy Spirit in my mind, see the peacefulness in my mind. Ones and zeros is a way of seeing like there's a duality about everything. And the appearance of the duality also creates there to be a gap that separates me from the truth. So I see the instance of the truth. This is the beginning of it, but I also see why I wasn't seeing the instance of the truth. That seems to be my challenge. It calls me into the world to solve the problem. It says, you can't solve this problem. I say, of course I can. Let me make the world in my image or whatever, and off it goes again. So it's an every moment sort of decision if you see it. If you don't see it, that's the problem. You have to see it so you cannot identify with it. You like the Toltec stuff, Ernesto? It's pretty interesting to see. The last chapter of the book is called The Mastery of Love. And the last chapter talks about God in you. And in God in you, it's a very beautiful chapter, and it's very much like the Course in Miracles, except they use terminology a little differently. But it was a very inspiring chapter to see. You know, I am always the God in me, but am I with the God in me always?
Right, and that's the choice.
That's the choice, exactly.
Well said.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, any other comments or shares or thoughts before we close today? All right, always wonderful to have all of you. Thank you for the questions, the discussions. It's so helpful to bring up examples, and I just really appreciate all of the discussion. So thank you, everyone, for
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you next week.
see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.